Hi, I'm Jim and this is Jim's Fix-It Shop. I've had a lot of questions on how do you get the blade mounting bar off the bottom of the spindle. Well, this is my 2012. As far as I know, this has never been apart. By the looks of the blade, it don't look like it's ever been sharpened. Now I know it's probably, let's see, 7 years old, but the gentleman that owned it was elderly. I can't say older because I'm older now. He lived in Ludington, Michigan, right down by the lake, and his lot was probably 60 feet wide and 80 feet long. His house, 2 garages, and a small basketball court was on that lot. So he didn't have a whole lot to mow. He said mostly he sucked leaves with it, but he did mow the grass, what little there was. So I would imagine, I bet this is the original blade and the original grind on the blade. So I'm going to show you how I get these off, and I've had a couple viewers that didn't get theirs off and they had to cut them, and I will show you what we had to do to cut them to get them off without hurting the spindle too much. I've got an impact, so plug your ears. We're going to take the 2 bolts off that hold the blade on. That works so much better than a ratchet. I don't know. I guess I'm just getting old. It's pretty rounded. I think maybe Saturday, if I can sneak down to the shop when no one's around, I'll show you how I grind these blades. It is so simple. If you have that kind of grinder that I use. I don't use a grinder with a grinding wheel. I use something different. You're just going to have to watch. Now, let's see if we can get this, dip you down here a little bit. Let's see if we can get this center nut broke loose. See how much trouble that gives us. Now, if you'll notice, there are 2 types of mounting bars on these snappers. This is a shorter one. The longer ones have 2 bolts in them, and what them bolts are for is leveling your blade. I guess if your bar gets bent, your blade sits on here, and if it's out of alignment one way or another, you can tighten one of these bolts up and it will come through and hit the bottom of the blade and lift it to where it's riding even all the way around in the mower deck. I have never used those, and I've noticed they've got away from them. Now the bars are shorter, they just have 2 holes drilled in them. And let's see if we can get this nut off. And the washer. That does not want to come off. It's got a burr on the inside of the hole, and I guess I'm going to have to unscrew it off of there. Now to get this bar off of here, this is also threaded to the spindle. What I've always used is a very large hammer, a very large rubber hammer. You shouldn't have to pound on them that hard. Now I'm hanging on to the pulley on the top of the spindle that drives it. And on this machine, the brake actually works, so that will help hold it for me. And I just pound on it. Maybe this one's going to be stuck. This one's going to be difficult, I guess. I've never had a problem like that. I know a lot of guys have. I guess I'll go on pause and see if I can beat this off. I'll be right back. Okay, that was fun. I did get it busted loose. I tried heat. That didn't seem to help much. What I ended up doing was I stood it up so I could hit down on it instead of sideways. And I switched from my rubber mallet to a standard claw hammer. I don't like doing that because when you put that much shock into unscrewing this, it drives all the impact and shock into the balls on the inner and outer race. So after doing this, I think we're going to be doing a video on replacing my bearings. And when I get to that point, I'll explain these washers and the purpose of the boss on the back side of the washer. It's not just a flat washer. And I'll explain why that's there and what its purpose is. But I did get this off. I don't like the way the thread, it came off hard all the way off. It was almost like it was a self-locking nut. So when I put this back on, or before I do, I'll run a tap through this hole and clean them threads out. For now, we will flip this thing over, and I want to talk a little bit about the safety switch on the top side of this thing and how to check it. And I did, when I beat on this with the claw hammer, I did raise some burrs on the edge. You can see I started to file these off. I'll take this to work tomorrow and run it through my sander, and I'll run that flat. You don't want your blade sitting on these burrs on one edge because it's going to tip the blade up. If you burr up both sides, it's going to raise the end of the blade up and it's not going to spin true. Now that you've got this off, you want to get a straight edge. Some kind of a square with a straight edge, and check it and make sure it's not bent. You should not be able to see light through there when you hold it up to a light fixture. If you do, it's bent, you should replace it. If you don't, it's going to throw a lot of vibration into your bearings and it's going to prematurely wear out your bearings. So let me move some of this stuff. We'll flip this thing over and I'll show you where that safety switch is, if you have one, and how to check it. the newer the machines, the more of these pesky little switches we have on them. The older machines never had a switch on here. It never had a switch on the yoke for the clutch. I think all it had was a switch on the shifter that it had to be in neutral for it to start. So let me move some of this stuff and I will flip this over. Okay, here's the switch that's activated by when you engage and disengage your mower deck. I have a meter here. This is the end of the wire that goes up into your main case and hooks into the rest of the safety switches. I'm using a couple finish nails to push inside of this switch, or inside of the female connectors. I've got a couple, the probes on my meter are removable. I can take them off and I can put on these little alligator clips. And we'll just clip them on the nails. If I turn the meter on, you'll hear it buzzing. That's because the switch is depressed when it's in, the deck is in neutral. When you engage the deck, it disconnects the switch. This is a normally open switch. So when your machine is in, your deck is in neutral, it closes the contacts and closes the circuit to let the starter start your engine. It's just very simple to check it. You can get a cheaper meter and a lot of the probes will fit into these female connectors, but these are too large, they won't. So I just use a couple of little nails. Now, if you're having trouble getting your mounting blade off of the spindle, I've had a couple guys that have tried everything and they just could not get them off. So we came up with the idea of actually cutting them off. Now when we cut them, I had them use a Dremel and they cut into the bar towards the spindle, but you want to cut as close as you can without actually hitting the spindle. The closer you get to the spindle, the smaller diameter wheel you want to use. So when you wear these wheels down, don't throw them away. You want to cut in there as far as you can. And then if you hit on this, a lot of times that will spread this open because of the slit and it'll come unscrewed. If you have to, you can get a friend, put a couple large pieces of pipe on this mounting bar, and if you both pull on it, that will spread this open and it should come right off. I know some of them can really be problems getting off. This is the first one that I've actually really had to pound on. Normally, I can just get them to come off with that rubber mallet without any issues. So I guess this was a learning experience for the both of us. Now I did try heat. Heat didn't seem to help at all. I didn't want to put a lot of heat into it because it's going to go down into the bearing. You don't want to overheat the bearing. That'll burn all the grease out of it. Then the bearing is going to wear out quicker. But I don't really like pounding anywhere around the bearing because it's, like I said, it's extremely hard on the races and the balls. So as long as I'm doing all this, I'll probably be putting new bearings in the spindle. I buy mine from Applied Industrial Sales, but I've had a couple guys go online, I think Amazon, and they got them a whole lot cheaper than what I paid for them. So I might check that route out myself when I get mine. If I do find them cheaper, I will definitely let you know and how much I paid for them. If you have any questions or comments, please put them in the box below. I answer every email I get. Sometimes it takes a while. Sometimes I forget and I lose an email or a comment. Send it to me again. I will answer it. Don't forget to subscribe. It really does help me spread these videos out for other people to find. The more views I have, the more likes I have, and the more subscribers I have, the more my videos are shoved out there for everybody to find. And that's why I'm doing this, is to help people save money. So I guess that's about it. If you have any questions, like I said, send me an email or put it in the box below. And I guess that's about it. Until next time, work safe, have fun, and let me know what you think. We'll talk to you soon.